Are you a fan of the Famicom disk system? Do you have a plethora of these little yellow discs lying around your place and need more? Well, stick around for the rest of the video because R2 and I will give you a guided tour and show you the way to finding Famicom disk system games and hardware here in Akihabara. Without further ado, let's get scruffy looking. Here we are starting off at Akihabara Station. Following this map, here we picked up at the station. R2 and I will give you a guided tour to each of the retro game shops in today's video. So when you come to Akihabara yourself, you can easily find these places. When you get off the train, try to make your way to the Electric Town Gate. You'll find a stand like this one here where you can grab an English map. That should help you easily follow R2's guided tour in today's video. R2, bring up the map please. I hope this map will help some folks out who are new to Akihabara and just want to get to the game shops. Let's hit the hyperdrive, R2. Our first stop today is the Surigaya Station location. Gal Force Eternal Story. This is a sweet little shooter created for the anime series of the same name. Green Beret, nice action platformer by Konami. It kind of reminds me of Contra with all the aliens. Dead Zone, cool artwork, and the name would have been nice if this was an action platformer, rather than a point-and-click style game. Cleopatra is an RPG you'll need to have plenty of Japanese skills to play. I Senshi Nicole, one of the more exciting action platformers for the FDS by Konami, and sweet artwork with this one too. Not such a bad price at 3,200 yen. Kinnikusei Oi Sodatsu-sen looks to be an average-looking action platformer. Karin no Ken Tsurugi, another exclusive Japanese RPG by Square, I believe. Yume no Kojo Doki Doki Panic. If the characters look familiar in this one, that's because this game was reskinned into what is now known all over the world as Super Mario Bros. 2. NES kids should easily recognize this one, Kid Icarus, another must-have title if you collect for the FDS. Well, that was Surigaya's Station shop. Not a whole lot of Famicom disc games, but always worth checking being so close to the station. Okay, R2, show us the way to our next location. Next stop, Super Potato. By far the most well-known retro game shop in Akihabara for sure. Let's see what they got. Just a peek at the consoles, there's an AV Famicom for about 15,000 yen, and looks like Super Famicoms are about 8,000 yen a piece. They have a Family Basic here too, which is kind of cool, but unfortunately no Famicom disk system consoles today. Let's check out their game section. Pretty modest selection, don't have a whole lot on the shelf, but more than the last shop for sure. Pulsar no Hikari is a space simulation game that's quite slow going for my taste. It has some interesting artwork, but I probably wouldn't pick this one up if it was me. Eggerland by HAL, otherwise known as Adventures of Lolo for the NES, I believe. This is a fun puzzle platform, worth grabbing in my opinion. I really love the artwork on this one too. Tobidase Daisaksen. This is a game similar playing style to Space Harrier. Here is the completed version of Eggerland with instructions and everything. I definitely want to get this one for the collection. Cleopatra RPG here. Interesting artwork, but an RPG. Moero Twin Bee. This is Twin Bee Part 2, I believe, called Save Professor Cinnamon. Different from the usual vertical shooting in Twin Bee, this is a side scroll, but it's by Konami and it's a shooter, so you know it's going to be good. And for 2,200 yen, it's definitely worth picking up. There's Mahjong Family, kind of interesting artwork on that. More Mahjong, this one has a bit more dragon-like artwork. Phallicin, another interesting addition to the Famicom disk system library because this game makes use of the Famicom's 3D glasses peripheral, which is pretty cool, and it's made by Konami. The artwork is also on point. Reflect World. Continuing on with the shooters in this one, you're a tank. I'd say it's an okay shooter, not the best, but definitely worth playing. Doki Doki Daidaso, or Monty on the Run, is a surprisingly fast-paced action platformer. And if you don't like the game, the artwork on this one cover is pretty cool too. The character reminds me a lot of Arthur from the Ghosts and Goblins. Aspic is another JRPG. Really sweet artwork though. Another detective club game. You need to have loads of Japanese skills to play. Kamen Rider, loose on the wall here. Not a fan of the controls, they're a little bit sticky, but Kamen Rider fans may really like this one. Here's a Bubble Bobble disc with no label for 800 yen. Not a bad deal, as long as it's working. Here are some display case noteworthy FDS games too. They have Dirty Pair, which is a good shooter to go along with its anime counterpart, followed by Kamen Rider, sealed, and a pair of Ultraman, sealed as well. Ultraman is not a bad game either. Nazo no Murasame Jo, sealed in box, which is another great action platformer from the FDS. It's often compared to Zelda. Some rare discs and carts here that are just for display. And we have a signed disc with Shigeto Ikehara's signature, whom I believe is the manga artist behind Rockman. There's an intriguing disc I've never come across before. The label's hidden, but I can kind of make it out. The funny thing, it says Kokuzei Cho, or National Tax Agency. Yeah, no joke. Japan's National Tax Agency made a Famicom disk system game. That's right, it's called Wakusei Anton Gaiden. And upon further research, the game was to spread awareness about tax laws to all those little children out there. And there is also a very rare Tetris for the disk system never seen before. While they didn't have a lot of disk system games at Super Potato, they did have some very intriguing rare discs in the display case, which was really cool to see. Let's move on to our next destination. Here we are at the gargantuan building of Mandarake, an 8th floor of geeking out on nostalgia. We're just going to check out the FDS games on the 6th floor though, but it's always fun checking out the retro toy floor for me too. Roger Rabbit is about 16,500 yen, quite expensive for this one. Fairy Tail is 18,700, and another Japanese RPG. It has cute artwork though. Dandy is a very similar game to Zelda. It's a top-down action adventure, worth exploring further, but at that price I won't be picking up this copy anytime soon. There's a Zanuck and Twin B back there. Their instruction manual is displayed interestingly. Nazo no Murasame Jo, which if I didn't mention before is a top-down action platformer, often compared to Zelda. It's said to be more action-based than Zelda, but worth a play and adding to your FDS collection. Okay, the graphics are not so great in this one, but your protagonist can turn himself into a cat. Dr. Chaos has some sweet artwork on the cover. The game has action platformer elements and also very slow point-and-click sections. All the FDS games here at Mandarake look to be in really good condition and complete with manuals, so you're going to pay a premium price, but they'll be in good condition. Section Z is a pretty fun space shooter. I'd say it's worth adding to the collection. Super Lode Runner is much like the original Lode Runner, just a bit better graphics. One thing I realized is some of the enemies in the game remind me of Biker Scouts. Gyrus is another solid FDS shooter that has similar game mechanics to Phallicin, except this one does not have the ability to use 3D function. Mato no Hakkai. This is an interesting looking action platformer with some Japanese text portions, but should be easy enough to navigate. Not the best graphics, but it's worth checking out for yourself. Gunsmoke is one of my favorite titles, and discovering it on the disc system was a treat. This is a must-own, whether on Famicom disc or on the cart. Sorry, NES cart only. Fu-Un Shorinken. This is a rudimentary fighting game. It looks quite action-packed for how old it is. It might be worth playing. Breeder, from the looks of it, seems to be more of a slow simulation type mech battling game. Kind of cool intro and cover art, not such an exciting play. Get your English lesson from an interdimensional cat named Michael. Did I forget to mention he dances? Ray Maze is an interesting Pac-Man-like game. Wadona no Mori is an interesting action platform worth checking out further. I do believe there is an updated version of this game on the Mega Drive. That was Mandarake's large selection of FDS games. Definitely worth checking out by far. They have the biggest FDS game selection in Akihabara. On to the next location. Okay, here we are at Trader, main location. The second floor houses the retro games. Well, they did have this junk Famicom disk system going for 2,000 yen, but it did not have the disk adapter, unfortunately. And they really don't have any games worth mentioning, so let's just take a quick look at some of the interesting junk they did have. And that was Trader. Not much to be seen in way of FDS games or systems today. Next location, just a quick hop down the street to Retro Game Camp. We start off with 3 complete and working FDS systems here going for about 9,000 yen each. They do have a disk system section here. It's much more sparse than I remember it, but more than Trader, that is for certain. Reflect World is a cool tank shooting game, and Moeru Twin B is also a really affordable, good quality Konami shooter. We got Breeder again, and some more of those detective games. Here's Nankin no Adventure. Looks like a Jidai Geki JRPG by Sunsoft. Cute visuals, but again, not a big RPG fan. Super Mario Bros. 2, the actual Mario Bros. 2, is quite a difficult upgrade to the Super Mario Bros. 1. Definitely worth grabbing on the disk system, and it's a great piece of history. And that was pretty much it at Retro Game Camp. Not a whole lot, but they did have the only complete FDS system for sale. And we arrived safely at Surigaya's main shop here in the back streets of Akihabara. Not a whole lot of noteworthy games to start off, but this cool disc 3D Hot Rally. Even if the game isn't that great, the vintage Mario racing art is worth 1,000 yen, in my opinion. Onigashima is a revisiting of old Japanese fables, but probably don't want it if you're not a Japanese reader. Relics Ankoku. This is an action platformer that I've never played before, but it looks interesting enough for further exploration anyway. The cover doesn't say much about it, but it's a cheaper title at 1,300 yen. Bubble Bobble needs no introduction, but this one looks to have the labels on it, and it's 1,400 yen, so that's not too shabby. It's really hard to tell what this game is. The advertisers really missed a good opportunity for some awesome box art here, but the game inside doesn't look too bad. It's yet another game similar to Zelda, but this may be one I have to pick up for sure. Mahjong game with scantily clad anime girls, I'm sure, as the hacker label prominently displayed on the indescript yellow box. Zanek is a good shooter, and Wadana no Mori, an equally intriguing action platformer, both complete, both for about 4,500 yen. Super Mario Bros. Is a cool addition to anyone's FDS collection for sure. You have to love that Japanese artwork. Tokimeki High School is a point-and-choose graphic novel type adventure, heavy on the Japanese, and unless you like Japanese idols from the 80s, you might not be willing to pay for this one. Nazo no Murasame Joe and Fire Rock, which is an interesting action platformer, though the controls are a little hard to get used to. It's similar to Kid Icarus. There are some more copies of Golf Force here. A loose Doki Doki Panic for 2,000 yen. A complete Agerland for 2,600 yen. A loose Fairy Tale for 3,000 yen. Oh, and a loose Kiki Kai Kai for 3,500. This is the first time to come across this one today. As you all know, Kiki Kai Kai is one of my favorites. A nice running action platformer top-down game, and one that came out on the Switch recently. I also found some game manuals here. One for Kiki Kai Kai, only about 4,000 yen for it, which is a little too rich for me, but one I'd like to add to my collection at some point. And that was Surigayas' selection of Famicom Disk System game. Not the best, but they had some discs I didn't find anywhere else today, like Kikaikai, so it was worth coming and checking out. If you found this video useful, and you really want to help out the channel, please consider donating by the way of super thanks. Just click the heart with the $sign and choose the amount you'd like to donate. Every little bit will go back to the channel to improve the quality of my videos. Plus, R2 really needs a new motivator. And if you can't donate, that's no biggie. Just don't forget to subscribe and click the bell for new weekly refurbs, modding, and game hunting from Japan, because it's free, and it happens every week. I'd say we found some cool games today. Really disappointing I didn't see one Metroid or Zelda at any one of the shops we visited today. But we did get to see some cool rare games at Super Potato, like the quirky space shooter that the Japanese tax agency created. And there was that huge selection of very minty looking FDS games we came across at Mandarake, which was a lot of fun to dig through. Did you find any titles you liked or surprised you in today's FDS game hunt? Was the R2 tour map a helpful guide to you? Let me know about it down in the comments. Also, if you want to learn how to refurbish one of these FDS disk systems, please go check out my video on the subject right here. I give you an easy guide on how you can get one of these old relics up and running real easy. Thank you all for joining me on today's FDS game hunting guide and retro game shop tour here in Akihabara. Stay safe everyone, but above all, stay scruffy looking.
Who's scruffy looking?